Chinese spy balloons or UFO terror. The US shoots down invaders in a primetime war of the worlds.
World Pride comes to Sydney. Larry Fillmore and Penny Hemsack get the inside scoop of the biggest party of the year.
The aftermath of the East Palestine train derailment. What was it and why won't President Biden attend?
And where in the world is this deadly radioactive capsule? The 5-cent coin-sized disaster that could bring Mad Max-like conditions back to the outback.
Reporting on mysteries, pride, politics, and disaster with love. Information News Network with Brian Sockington and Sandy Hosier.
Also sport with Joe Sockick and his proposal to inject a little interest into the Big Bash Cricket League.
And a special and romantic Valentine's Day edition of The Weather with Jane Bunyan.
The mysterious appearance of multiple unidentified anomalous phenomena over United States airspace has left fighter pilots baffled and created sweeping hysteria across the country and around the world, fueled by non-stop live news coverage that seemed eager to blame the Chinese Communist Party and its spy programs, or an incoming alien invasion depending on the effect the story had on ratings. Military officials have yet to clearly identify the balloon-like objects publicly, with vague descriptions ranging from small and metallic to large and lightweight, with an octagonal, container, or car-like shape carrying payloads the size of a small bus or buses, despite no obvious propulsion or navigation systems, much like an alien UFO or a balloon. Rupert Holsworthy contributes to the abundance of panicked reporting.
Are we living through the start of a war of the worlds? Increasing reports of mysterious unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, have quickly been labeled a threat to the lives of American citizens prior to being identified, in a very on-brand US government reaction that has stoked political debate, mostly about how quickly the objects should be blown out of the sky. A balloon-like object flying across the US was labeled a Chinese spy balloon by the mainstream media before the Biden administration scrambled F-22 fighter jets to shoot it down off the coast of South Carolina, using Sidewinder AIM-9X heat-seeking infrared missiles costing $472,000 a shot. Democrats labeled the decision as a brave presidential masterstroke. Republicans wondered why it took so long to shoot down the objects, and patriots celebrated information across the nation.
Here we go. We got it. Boom! Woo! That's my Air Force right there, buddy.
In the political and media circus that followed, the Chinese would claim the object as a wayward weather balloon, which upon its recovery was found to be equipped with US parts and measuring instruments. The following three events also occurred. A UAP is shot down over Dead Horse, Alaska. A second UAP is shot down over Yukon, Canada. And a third UAP is detected over Lake Huron, Michigan. 2 missiles are fired to shoot this object down. Despite NORAD reporting radar anomalies, the FAA shutting down airspace over Montana, Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau promising to recover debris, President Biden enacting the first peacetime airspace shootdowns in US history, and military consensus that the last 3 objects didn't look anything like the first one, all 3 searches for the UAPs were called off. And no one cared anyway, as the Chinese spy balloon story continued to be widely reported around the world. So what were these UAPs? Why have they been sent to the US? and from where. Audio from inside the cockpit of the jet that eventually shot down the fourth UAP hasn't helped.
Just some kind of dark object. It's just so slow and so small and you can't see it because it's so close.
Neither has the White House.
We don't yet know exactly what these three objects were. But make no mistake, if any object presents a threat to the safety and security of the American people, I will take it down.
Politicians were left to clarify the mystery.
We don't know what most of them are.
Our adversaries often know what we know. We know they know. The American people are the ones who don't know, and they deserve to know.
We need to know who is creating these devices.
On the one hand, the administration is saying we don't yet know what these last three objects are, but on the other hand, it wasn't a threat.
My phone's ringing off the wall, and we got a president of the United States and not saying anything.
You're kind of walking away from this thing still having a lot of questions.
Yes. Yes. We have unity in confusion.
And the media were busy doing their media things.
Did the U.S. Air Force just shoot down a party balloon? A group of balloon enthusiasts say they believe their $12 balloon, just like the one in this photo, was the balloon shot down over Alaska.
The very American shoot first and ask questions later approach should reassure its allies that the world's greatest superpower is still willing and able to defend itself and others from emerging threats, whether real or otherwise. Rupert Holsworthy, INN News.
From gay sharks to gay bears, Sydney-siders were once again awash in the diverse colours of the 45th annual Mardi Gras, this year coinciding with the first World Pride event to take place in Australia. There was glitz and glamour as the world's most popular minority group painted the town with pride, although many were unhappy about the symbols and imagery being displayed in the streets, questioning the true meaning of the celebrations in 2023. Larry Fillmore and Penny Hemsack were at the heart of Oxford Street to soak up the atmosphere and celebrate the sexual orientations of the random people around them.
Oh yes, love really is in the air here, isn't it, Penny?
Wow, you can almost smell it, Larry.
That's disgusting. Anyway, we're here at the 45th Mardi Gras in Sydney, Australia, and Oxford Street has once again been transformed from a sad, seedy post-COVID nightmare into a fabulous wonderland at the heart of World Pride.
That's right, Interpride have ensured this year's events are bigger than ever, with over 375 SOGIESC Pride organisations in over 70 countries, Larry.
Jeez, what was that acronym?
It's the Sexual Orientations, Gender Identities and Expression and Sex Characteristics Communities. I'm surprised you haven't learned that one by heart, Larry.
I had no idea. Ho ho! Looks like the party's about to kick off to the familiar sounds of that pop star from 35 years ago.
Oh, I can't wait to jump onto social media and make sure all my friends know I'm supporting the cause. You know, whatever the cause is.
Absolutely. Oh, there's Albo, who's managed to inject himself into yet another cultural moment.
Oh, he's a man of the people. And the first Australian Prime Minister to march in a Mardi Gras parade, Larry.
Is there anything outside of Parliament he won't attend, eh?
He certainly gets around. Well, the fabulous parade is snaking its way past the now famous BDSM bear mural, which Nine News described as a Vladimir Putin with teddy bear mask drinking a white Russian in bondage straps.
Oh yes, great material there, Channel 9. Of course, we should take a moment to condemn those heartless vandals who sprayed Leave Our Kids Alone over it earlier in the day. They clearly misunderstood the symbols of love, struggle and bravery it brought to the middle of this major thoroughfare in Sydney.
And here come the first fabulous floats of this year's parade of rainbow capitalism.
Brought to you by Qantas, Canva, Queensland, Clubline, Procter & Gamble, Sydney Uni, Optus, Oreos, Absolute, Deloitte, Coca-Cola, Coles, Woolworths, ANZ and Facebook Meta.
And shown in prime time on our nation's tax-funded broadcaster. Here's There's the trans float now, covered in their own special ice cream coloured flag.
Yes, and the kids are loving every minute of this. It's no wonder so many kids in the world are deciding their gender years before they even reach puberty.
Oh, and thank goodness for that. I wonder if those colours were chosen in honour of the biggest trans advocate and ice cream fan in the world today, Brian.
Who, Lizzo?
No, she's vegan. Joe Biden.
Oh, yes, of course.
It makes you wonder just how big this movement will get, Larry.
Well, Australians will just follow in lockstep with the US.
Oh, for sure. More time for drag queen story time for primary school kids and perhaps a bit of pole dancing to keep them fit and healthy. All the more reason for allies to hit the street as often as possible and demand more than just the standard set of Pride and Visibility Days.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better, Pen, especially as a cisgendered sock puppet myself. Well, that just about wraps things up from World Pride at Sydney's Mardi Gras. I've had fun.
Probably not half as much fun as what's going to happen at the after party tonight.
Oh, not for me. Let me out of here. I'm a family man. Yeah, make sure I can slip through the back entrance again like I did the last few years, eh?
Oh, for sure, we're going to get on it.
Oh, yeah.
In breaking news, and the search is on for a deadly radioactive capsule the size of a 5-cent coin across the world's second largest state of Western Australia. The missing 6x6mm capsule containing the highly radioactive and dangerous substance cesium-137 fell off a Rio Tinto mining truck somewhere on the 1,400-kilometre section of the Great Western Highway, spanning a distance that is longer than the length of California. Luckily, most people in the Australian population, as referenced in the Constitution at least, live here, here, and here, so we should be right to go. Radiation Services WA says standing within 1 metre of the capsule for an hour would deliver roughly the same amount of radiation as 17 standard chest x-rays. Rio Tinto faces a maximum fine of $1,000 under WA law, and well deserved, I would say.
And speaking of hazardous materials, a 38-car freight train carrying toxic chemicals, including the cancer-causing carcinogen vinyl chloride, has derailed in the small U.S. town of East Palestine, Ohio. First responders and railroad officials were forced to make the decision to conduct controlled burns of several of the hazardous cars. No, that's not what they did.
That's exactly what they did.
Oh, it is what they did. Well, it seems it was decided the burning of toxic chemicals and their subsequent release into the environment was the best way to avoid the chance of an explosion. And here it is. It was in fact the quickest way to get the freight train running again. There we go. I believe the Drudge is in East Palestine with a report on the aftermath of the chemical burn. Do we have pictures? The Drudge? What are you doing in Palestine? It's East Palestine, you dummy. Oh, fair enough. Ah, yes. I'm pretty happy to be about as far from that scene as you could get to. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near the place. Have you been updated about the evacuated residents who've reported various health concerns since getting the green light to come back home? Well, that's what they're saying, isn't it? But look at these pictures, the Drudge. It doesn't look safe to me. No, that can't be good. And then you have all the dead animals and reports it could take a decade to clear the environment of the toxic carcinogens in the area. Bummer for all those gardeners and people who enjoy the great outdoors, eh? Yep, well, I suppose we'll get a lot more information from the president when he arrives. What do you mean he's not going?
He's saying he's not going.
What? At all? Well, I suppose no one wants Biden accidentally falling into the inferno or something, so best keep him right out the way, I guess. Okay, thanks to Drudge, and good luck to your film crew over in East Palestine. If the EPA are correct, I'm sure they'll be okay, or at least recovering soon with minimal damage. In television news, the day's events become history. We're telling history, in the way you'll accept it happened.
You meet people, quite possibly that you don't like, and you interview them, and then the editors decide the story you want most. In news, you want to be first, but you have to be accurate.
In the way the most people will agree with.
It's an enormous privilege to be invited into people's homes and get paid to talk crap.
People know when they tune into INN, they can believe it, because everyone else does.
News can totally bum you out, or be really uplifting.
There's not another thing I'd rather be doing. It makes me the sock puppet I am.
It makes me the sock puppet I am.
It makes me remember I'm a sock puppet.
I'm a real meteorologist.
And we're privileged to be on INN. The good type of privileged.
Yes, the good type of privileged.
Joe Sockick now with sport, and Joe, the Big Bash cricket final has wrapped up, but I believe there's an even bigger bash starting up in the US.
Oh, it's the biggest bash, Brian. We'll be talking Super Bowl in a sec. But let's get the cricket out of the way first. The Perth Scorchers beat the Brisbane Heat to claim their 5th BBL title and put an end to another laborious tournament where every game between the made-up franchises was a lottery and almost completely meaningless. What happened to good old state versus state stuff like Origin and It's a Knockout? Worked bloody perfectly. Remember Trevor Hendy in the Nutrigrain Ironman Challenge? I do. It was riveting state versus state warfare, just like COVID. And if it were up to me, the Big Bash League would be the same. You get the Premier and the Health Ministers facing opening pace bowlers, 150 Ks, no helmet and tippities. Gotta be a ratings bonanza. And speaking of, the 59th World Championship of American football, known as the Super Bowl, took place in Arizona. And this month's INN Sports Wrap focuses on all the highlights, on, off, and even above the field. State Farm Field in Glendale, Arizona played host to the Super Bowl for the 3rd time and is set to bring over $600 million in revenue from the event. Sounds like the Vince Lombardi Trophy should go to Tourism Arizona, if you ask me. Chris Stapleton kicked things off and made all the big boys cry. While a heavily pregnant Rihanna couldn't turn down an opportunity to ride around the stage as the halftime entertainment. And boy did she put on a show, rising up and down from floating podiums and doing her best to avoid vertigo on top of the morning sickness. What a powerhouse performer, you know, aside from the singing, of course. And finally, the game itself, and it was one for the ages. The Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles, 2 red-hot sides that couldn't be separated during the season, and it was the same for most of the game. It took this close call to finally get Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs over the line, 38-35. So the NFL's over for another year and we can look forward to an off-season full of speculation, lies and innuendo, as usual. And now we head back to Sandy Hosier, who I believe has a special announcement for a lucky, lovely lady in our studio.
Now, I'm sure we have a lot of weather news to get through, but Jane, as you know, we are celebrating Valentine's Day soon, and I believe we have a special person who's written a special Valentine's message for you.
Oh wow, really?
Yes, he's just behind that soundproof booth over there.
Oh wow, this is really exciting! I've never had anything like this happen before.
Well, I know he's very excited to take you out on a date, and he says he's been waiting a long time to ask you as well. Any ideas who it might be, Jane?
I think I might know, Sandy. Oh wow, I'm so excited.
Oh, so are we. So, are you ready to find out who your not-so-secret admirer
Can I turn
is?
around?
Okay, let's reveal Jane's secret Valentine.
It's the Drudge, isn't
it? No.
Joe. Wow. Yeah. Actually, I didn't think it could be you.
You clearly said the Drudge, though.
No. I meant to say, the judge. The judge. Yeah, like an umpire. The judge.
Okay. Well, you're not disappointed, are you?
No. I'm very flattered. I mean, the Drudge is hot, but you're also very knowledgeable about sport and stuff.
Oh, well, I do know a lot about sport.
That was sweet, wasn't it? Do you think we should ask her to do the weather now?
I think it's safe to say the weather's pretty hot in the studio right now, Sandy.
I actually saw the Drudge hanging out in the green room before we went on.
Not the Drudge, I mean hot between Joe and Jane.
Yeah, that's sweet. Did I mention how sweet that was? Awkward.
There's nothing quite like young love, is there, Sandy?
Well, I'm not entirely convinced that Joe is Jane's type, though.
Oh, well, what's not to like? Old Snake Dog's quite a catch, I would say.
Hey, how did he get the name Snake Dog?
Well, this is a family show, Sandy. Perhaps Jane will let you know as their relationship, how should I say, develops?
I'm good, thanks. You know, I think that's all the time we have for this episode, Brian.
Well, I suppose it is. And you can show us a little love too by helping us produce new episodes with a donation or a subscription at INNformationnews.com.
Yep, we'll even put you in the credits of our next episode.
Absolutely. But for now, may our news be your views, and goodbye.
Goodbye.